rolling.
Okay, thanks. Good morning, everyone. My name is Peter Ulrich. I have the joy and pleasure to be the principal here at Tybee Island Maritime Academy. Thank you for coming to this. This is our very first community plug-in. So we advertise this on social media through a Remind app that we have for our parents, and really tried to get it out in multiple ways. But I can say this is the first time I feel like we've had more community members at an event than parents, so that's actually really exciting for us. This started actually, this type of meeting, about 3 years ago. We had a conversation. You want to advance the slide? That's right. Is it this one? Thanks. We started this about 3 years ago when we came back from the pandemic. And we were actually the first public school to have students in session. We also noticed that there was a sharp decline in parents participating in the education of their children for various, number of reasons. And we wanted to do something that sort of leaned into building that partnership back. And one of the things that we came to pretty quickly is parents didn't trust us. People don't trust government. For those of you that are in public service, like that's one of the biggest challenges. And so we started having these meetings so we could enter into this dialogue to, one, have this portion of the meeting where we're sharing what we're doing, how it's working, what's not working. And then there's another portion where we just open up the floor for Q&A. And so over the last 3 years, we've really built this amazing culture where when parents are able to, they can come in and spend time with us once a month. They get to decide what the topics are. At the beginning of the year, we sort of survey families and say, well, what do you want to know more about? And it can be everything from hiring practices to curriculum, to our instructional model and how that relates to STEAM and careers. What's going on with math? So all of those things, we put a calendar to that and figure out how we're going to do that throughout the year and how that aligns to what our priorities are. And then we have the meetings, and they're actually pretty well attended. And so thank you so much for pivoting to this community plug-in. I think for some of the same reasons. I've only been at TEMA for 6 years, but TEMA has existed. We are now in our 11th year as a school here on the island. And I think with any organization, you tend to get myopic, right? You're thinking about what you're doing and how that's happening, but we really do try to lean into what does that mean for the community. For us specifically, we are a public school in Chatham County, but we were created because Tybee needed a school. The city came to some people that had, had some experience in education. Some of you have heard this, and said, we really need to have a school on the island. So the first thing they did at the time was go to the school superintendent and say, hey, bring a school back to the island. We need a public school on the island. And the superintendent said, no. And so they asked board members in Savannah Chatham, and they said, no, you don't have a population that supports having a school on the island. So for the first time, I think, ever in history, the superintendent said, why don't you open a charter school? Wow, okay, sure. So they got together, they had some meetings, they got some buy-in, and sure enough, in 2013, Tybee Island Maritime Academy opened as a K-5 school. And I think at that point it was just K-3, it was about 130 kids, and we just slowly grew over time, 4th, 5th, and things were going pretty well as a K-5 for 2 or 3 years. But for any of you that have had contact with our families, I think what you've heard or found is that once kids experience this type of education, where they're going to the beach to do math, or reading, or writing, or they're going to the salt marsh and they're doing scientific data collection, all of the things that make being on Tybee so important as a resource, parents couldn't get enough. They were like, well, have you thought about 6th grade? And at the time, I think they were like, no, we have not thought about 6th grade, thanks for asking. But the board also really started listening to the families and hearing more about what they wanted. So there was a decision made right around the time I was hired in 2019 to add middle grades, which is what I had some experience in. And so it's been really amazing to add those grade levels each year. We've now been in K-8 in total for a few years. We have our 3rd class of 8th graders that are leaving us. But it's been really exciting to see how the school has transformed and how we've continued to try to lean into the community experience. So thanks for being here for a lot of reasons. You're gonna drive, thanks. So I just kind of want to tell you what's going on at TEMA right now and in the short term. We have Ghost Pirates Night. Any hockey fans here, and also a TEMA lover, you can go to the Ghost Pirates game on Friday night. We have our spring intercession coming up. We have a different calendar than Savannah Chatham. We actually do 9 weeks on and take 1 week off. So a lot of our units are constructed, you'll hear more about that later, in these 9-week sessions. And so it's a natural break for us to take that week and sort of refocus. It's also been a really great calendar for our families. The feedback that we get, and also for our colleagues, to have that sort of week break has been really helpful. We're selling carnations. Some of you might have seen the table. Our middle schoolers get really excited about flowers for some reason on Valentine's Day. So they're selling carnations right now. We have a basketball game. It's today the 6th. Yeah, tonight. As I said, we're having Ghost Pirates Night tomorrow. And then on the 14th, we actually have Student-Led Conference Day, which is really exciting for us. Our students get a chance to sit down with their parents and share with them how they're progressing on the goals that they set at the beginning of the year. It's a really great opportunity to engage in a very academic dialogue. And I think our parents are pretty shocked by what their kids are able to tell them about what they're able to do. We're having our Lunar New Year celebration also. Savannah Arts Academy is bringing out their Dragon Dance team on that Friday. So our students get a chance to see what that festival could look like. And so that's been very exciting. We have right now a parent survey. If you guys have not filled that out, please do so. It takes 4 or 5 minutes. If you have parents that you know that if you guys are sitting and having coffee and they're like, no, I'm not doing that survey, please encourage them to do the survey. It is part of our climate study. It really helps us know more about how we're serving our families. Our Maritime Fund is something that we've been doing also for the last few years. It is a growth fund for us, a more philanthropic side of the school. We've already raised $14,000. And coming up, you'll hear at the end our fishing tournament, which is a big tie-in for us at the end of the year. We're having a plant sale that is going on. I can give you more information about that. And then, of course, we're partnering with the YMCA for a summer day camp. So we're very, very grateful for all of our partnerships in the community. And that is really kind of the launching point for the rest of our conversation this morning. Community partnership is part of what makes our school really unique. Leaning into these opportunities for our students to see community members and have them give input on projects, on learning. It's just really amazing to see how transformative it can be for a student to sit down with somebody in the community and really build that value into what they're working on. So in just a moment, one of my colleagues is going to come up and they're going to talk about how we define partnership in the community. We're going to discuss what the value of engagement from PBL, so problem-based and place-based learning, is to our community partners. And we're going to give you some example of those partnerships. So at this time, Ms. Beck, our assistant principal, is going to come up and talk about how we define partnership.
My name is Alicia Beck. I'm the assistant principal. I'm going to talk to you a little bit about how we define community partners and the intentionality behind that. And we do this for a number of reasons. We are a STEAM certified school by the state of Georgia. We're the only STEAM certified middle school in this region, and we're the only K-8 in the actual state has a full school certification. There's a lot that goes into that, but one of the pieces is project-based learning, and through that are partnerships and our connections to our communities. So you'll hear us throw the acronym around PBL all the time. We'll say PBL, PBL, PBL. It means 3 different things. So we start really big with project-based learning. That's very broad, and probably when you really think about projects that students are engaging in, the lowest level. They're good, but what we've found is when we start to have students really define a problem and answer a problem, they get more engaged, the content becomes more specific, it becomes more meaningful. But take that a step further, when we start to think about where those projects are taking place, the community that they're impacting, when students can see the we tap into a lot of different sources for that. So we look at our local business community, also our nonprofits. An update, I did add that. We partner with local artists. We have artist internships here. They come work with our teachers and our students often. We have parents whose jobs align with topics. Oftentimes teachers will put out in their newsletters, hey, we have this specific project we're working on. We'd love for you to work with us if you have a background in something. Local government officials, employees, local college professors, college students, former students, and even spouses and partners of our faculty and staff. So we do tap into all of our resources to bring in experts in their fields and to make the content students are learning in these PBLs more meaningful. But we take that a step further and we really define that for ourselves. Our teachers define this as their planning, and our partnerships really shape how these projects start to turn out. When we start developing PBLs, teachers do that. Teachers here are designers. We don't have a lot of camp curriculum that we're using. There's not a lot of maritime curriculum out there. So our teachers actually start by thinking of the standards that they want to focus on. What are the skills they want students to be able to do? And then start to develop questions. But they don't really get specific with those questions until we pull in the community partners, because they really are the experts, and they can drive where the projects go to make them more meaningful. And we intentionally try to push towards partnerships that are at the advocacy level. That doesn't mean support partners are bad. All partnerships are good, and we appreciate any support that anybody would come give a project, but intentionally we're really leaning towards advocacy partnerships. So what that looks like, a support partner is oftentimes just a one-off. It's someone who's coming in to talk to students maybe one time about a project. They might be an expert in something. It might be hosting a field trip, one-time field trip, making a donation to a project, maybe just, giving teachers a little input on certain content, but it's usually a one-time thing. Now, we start to get a little more involved with interactive partners. You'll see people come a little more frequently, but what we're looking for really is advocacy. So because it's mutually beneficial. The students are working towards something for the partner, but the partner also will benefit from that as well. So oftentimes they will plan with teachers. They will provide professional learning for teachers. They will come in and co-teach. They might teach a lesson all on their own. They'll do maybe a series of discussions with our students. They might offer feedback on student work. They might come back year after year to judge a competition. They could be a coach for a STEAM team like Lego Robotics or ROV, underwater robotics. But really what you're going to see is that their influence is visible throughout the school. The students are talking about what they're doing with that partner. And Ms. Keon, who's our third grade teacher here, is going to come and talk about a really great example of an advocacy level partnership. But in all of our planning documents and all of the collaborative work our teachers do, this is something we're intentionally always going back to and involving partners to help shape and form what students are learning and what students are doing.
Yeah, I just want to lean in for a minute about what that means as far as the school culture goes, right? So, as Ms. Beck said, our teachers don't open up a curriculum that someone purchased for them. They are actively coordinating with other people in the community about the value of that partnership and what kids can do once they have someone that's coming in and sitting down with them when they're looking at designing a future city, or they're looking at wastewater treatment, or they're looking at infrastructure, like all of the things that we think might be pretty heady for kids to engage with. They actually are very desirous of having an impact. And so this methodology sort of puts a framework around all of that for us. It's been very exciting to see what that means for us curricularly, but also the type of innovation that leads to with our colleagues. So because our teachers aren't like teachers in other places where they're given a curriculum that they have to follow, and our folks have to reach out to community partners, they have to build these units, we actually have an incentive structure that our board approved where we get to recognize that level of professionalism. We have a new superintendent in Chatham County, and one of the things look at our charter schools and see how they're innovating, how they're providing for. And you've had board members in Savannah Chatham and say, well, what's TEMA doing? They're having 99% retention rate for their colleagues for 3 years. Like, what's going on? I can tell you that just yesterday at the board meeting, they passed a resolution because they're going to implement a partial incentive plan for some of their teachers that are doing more. Every teacher I know works hard. And so it's really great to have that sort of elevated in a way that we get to lead in the community for what that value can be. And part of that is because of community partnerships. So I was really grateful and excited to see that. So we have Ms. Solomon and we have Ms. Holliday here. Ms. Keon will be here as soon as she can to sort of wrap. But I know there's a part of the presentation you guys did for the State Science Conference that we can kind of start that.
So this is well rehearsed. We had the opportunity to travel to Columbus, Georgia last week for the Georgia Science Teachers Association Conference. And one of the reasons that we went, we wanted to talk about our work here at TEMA. One of the strands that they were focusing on was STEAM education. So we went to talk to them about community partnerships and some work that we've done here with our third grade and actually a lot of different grades have worked with oysters. A partnership between TEMA, the Marine Extension and Sea Grant, and also ECO, which we'll talk a little bit more about that in a second, what that is. As you can see here, we have 5 different organizations or partners here. I work here. I also co-own Tybee Oyster Company with my husband, and we decided to fulfill the second half of our mission, which is to broaden and create community and education around environmental stewardship and sustainability. We wanted to go ahead and just create a separate nonprofit that can focus on that. So that organization's focus is inspired a lot through the work that TEMA does with STEAM, knowing that these community partnerships deepen the level of engagement of students, and so that enables us to reach out and do that. And so TEMA's been a great partner in that and truly helped develop that. So that's kind of my role in this, was looking at what that means for the growth of the school, looking at how that translates into sustainability on the Georgia coast. So we did the session and we had some different goals. We really wanted to inspire a love of oysters because we are very passionate about oysters and just think they're probably the most amazing invertebrate that we have here on the Georgia coast. But that really wasn't our whole mission. We wanted people to get an appreciation and brainstorm ways that they could incorporate oysters into their curriculum. But really our main goal was for them to brainstorm ideas for advocacy level community partnerships in their own classrooms in their own regions of the state. We kind of had the little phrase, find your oyster. So oysters are keystone species here in the state of Georgia, but we had teachers from all over the state and have different keystone species that they could bring into their own classrooms. And the way that we explained an advocacy level community partnership to the group at GSTA was that when you have this type of community partnership, it becomes really powerful because you're sharing a passion and a purpose. Like, you're not going to find another person who's more passionate about oysters than the people at Tybee Oyster Company. So having them come and work with the students just ramps that passion up for them, gives them the purpose for what they were doing. The students at the end, and you'll see throughout what Amber's talking about, but they had this end goal of being able to share their work at a big event that ECO and Tybee Oyster Company were hosting, the Georgia Oyster Revival. So there's a big purpose there, a shared purpose. And when you have those, also when you have those types of community partnerships, it becomes very engaging for the students, and that's something we talk about all the time, student engagement. And also, it's elevating, an advocacy level community partnership is elevating not only the work of the students and what they're doing here at TEMA, but also the organization that they're working with. This is a news clip that kind of shows. So this is kind of towards the end of this partnership.
so enthusiastic about the shellfish, they even taught me a lesson or two.
Sometimes it might start to look like this because half of the oysters float. An adult oyster could filter over 50 gallons in 24 hours. Even if they're alive, they can still make homes for small creatures.
Kids are super excited about oysters, which is funny because I feel like most of these kids go out on the water in their boats with their dads or they drive past it. They don't really understand until they see it how important these oysters are for our environment.
Oyster shells provide homes to other animals when they're alive, but even long after they're consumed, they can be put into a bag like this, like the kids are doing behind me, and provide even more benefits to the ecosystem.
It'll be destined for different areas. Some have been drawn to Sapelo Island, some have been in the Mount Savannah River. It's kind of erosion and shoreline restoration and habitat creation.
And hopefully be successful and help protect our marshes, improve our water quality here in Georgia, and really become a great habitat for building, all the other things that are in our estuary.
For these students to just get them super stoked about the outdoors and what's in their backyard so that they hopefully can have that generational impact and continue to spread the word, having them super excited about the outside and protecting and preserving it.
In Savannah, AJ Simpson, WJCL 22 News.
So another really cool thing about this is that the partnership is actually a little bit deeper than we even talked about because Tom Bliss, who's the lead scientist at the hatchery, also is a parent. So, it's interwoven in between and finding those natural connections to be able to find those resources to plug in that are passionate about it is one of the keys. And it's a lot of extra work for our teachers.
Are you still tap dancing?
I am. I'm done now.
Yeah, she's on.
Okay. So, this is technically Amber's slide here.
This one is.
Yeah. Tee it up, yeah. So the way that the curriculum is designed is, there's always kind of a guiding question or a big problem statement. And so when these third graders started this school year, their first quarter project was how are oysters our keystone species? So they dove in and looked at every facet of that, and they used that question to learn your English standards, your math standards, your science standards, that are mandated by the Department of Education, but it was all interwoven in a way that, it was kind of seamless, it was cross-curricular. And they used this design process that, really highlights the different phases. So it's designed to allow kids to iterate and fail and learn from their mistakes and grow and try again. You can see the outer words here: creativity, empathy, collaboration, and service. Those are really kind of the tenets. How are we helping other people? That's the empathy piece. And that is what the teachers use to design the curriculum and the students use to answer the question.
Any questions about this so far? We are stalling just a little bit. Our colleague is on the way. We had to get coverage. Anything stand out from what you've heard so far?
I saw a story in Louisiana where they were bagging the oyster shells just like that to protect the shoreline. I thought it was very stupid.
And truly a partner in this was the DNR as well. They're the one who actually takes those bags and puts them in designated areas.
Is that netting, like, what happens? Does it go away?
It is still plastic. There are scientists at Savannah State who have actually gone in and tested for microplastics at all of these reefs to see if they exist there or not, and they don't find any. But they are plastic. They're not biodegradable. And that is something that is a common question for scientists at the graduate level. What can we use to make substrate to create these natural reefs? Oysters prefer other oysters, but our DNR has been experimenting So the question to that could be something like, how do you ensure sustainable food service production? Something big, and then you get the students to come up with the problem of waste, and then you have their partner that helps present a solution they can collaborate on.
So there's one more question? Yes? You're gonna hold it? Okay. All right, everybody, this is Amber Keon.
Hi, good morning. Thank you so much for coming in today. I just wanted to take a moment to share some of the really cool partnerships that we were able to make with Connecting Oysters and with our PBL. Being able to connect these oysters really gave our learning purpose and passion. It's something that is very near and dear and close to our students, and being able to get them to have this love, this empathy, and also being able to communicate being a good steward of our environment, it's really important to do that, especially at such a young age. I think that they were talking about this design process a little bit before I walked in. We use this process throughout our entire PBO process, and it really, I'm gonna go ahead, I've got a little video collection, I'm sorry, I'm shifting from literally doing some shape-shifting writing in class and just getting my mind reframed. I put together a short little video that really just kind of shows us what we did with oysters throughout our project. We first started looking at where do they live as we were studying them being keystone species. Going out into our local marsh, students were making observations, seeing where these oysters were attaching. We were studying their life cycle. These are some examples of our STEAM journals. We then were diving into looking at how oysters provide habitats. We collected some oysters, students were kind of dissecting them. They were exploring firsthand that they were providing habitats for little baby shrimp, for crabs. The self-discovery and the moments were pretty passionate and exciting. Parents are like, this is disgusting, but they were hooked. We connected math standards. An oyster can filter 50 gallons of water in a day. So students then were mathematically figuring this out. They shared their ideas with each other, their strategies of how they came up with their solutions. And then we wanted them to really understand how much water 50 gallons is, because, to think about 50 gallons of milk, it couldn't happen for them. So we took them out to the beach and we did a relay race. We filled up 5-gallon buckets until we equaled that 50 gallons. We then were talking about oyster substrates, them needing some kind of like organism to attach to. Students made hypotheses inside of their STEAM journals and looked at different devices that they created in engineering. And these devices were created based on their observations in the marshes, seeing that these oysters were attaching to docks, to bricks, to other oysters. So we wanted them to kind of make those hypotheses and try it out. So it'd be really cool if they could figure out a solution to get more natural oysters to grow, to help to protect the infrastructure from erosion, to build these habitats and little nurseries. We then partnered with the Tybee Oyster Company. They came out to our school, they brought some cages and equipment from their farm. Students were then looking at just the different sizes of the mesh, being able to draw these conclusions of why they need to change sizes. They also were observing that barnacles were attaching to them, other dead organisms, some we couldn't tell because they were out of the water for a while. And then also just STEAM journal entries where they had that flexibility and that openness to communicate what they were learning in their own avenue through those drawings, through those diagrams. Little black spots inside. Some of ours were losed. We then allowed students to get in and do some dissecting. Why not? They had a blast. They were making observations on their shell, color, smell, great language arts standards to bring in for those adjectives, using scientific tools to do some measuring. We were talking for them to try to determine if they were legal size or not to sell. They also then were, again, just their STEAM journals. They also, this is a beautiful picture this young lady drew, just the anatomy inside. I also like the, it's disgusting, it's mucky. No tasting, not science class. Then we tied in more math standards. One of our math standards are really looking at multiplication, and students were given a different number of baskets, and they needed to design arrays for the Tybee Oyster Company. They were talking about needing to leave space for boats to get through and water to pass through so that they can Then we got to partner with ECO. We got the kids out to the dock. They were taking samples of macro and micro invertebrates. We were looking at them under a microscope. That led into them having just the microscope in my classroom for a while. They had a little code. They were like, "Ooh, check this out." I'm like, all right, cool. Let's figure out what it is now. It was beautiful for them to be able to see all of this learning and how it applies into our economy and being able to take them out there on the boat. We got to go to the Oyster Revival to share with our community what the students have learned and how important oysters are, and then tied it together with our service project of being able to give back to our community to help to protect our local golden owls and to prevent them from eroding. Our next project is about monarchs and animal conservation. So if anyone has any like hookups, connections, remember Keon, teach 3rd grade, let me know. Chief luck.
Thanks.
Questions? Cool.
Like everybody else in 3rd grade, right? This is what you did.
Yeah, not at all. All right, back to shape shifting and writing.
Thank you, Ms. Keon.
Thank you, thanks for coming.
I can imagine at the science teacher conference that people probably lost their minds at how exciting that is. Yes, you have a question?
Can I give some parent feedback?
Yes.
So as a 3rd grade parent, I've learned more about oysters than I ever knew. And I never, as a kid going to school years and years ago, I was never really interested in going to school. My kids love coming here because of projects like that.
Thanks. Do you now know more about oysters than you wanted to know? Yeah. You're welcome.
And butterflies. I've learned a lot about butterflies.
Yes, and monarch way stations.
Yep.
Yeah, we're doing all that.
Yep.
Thanks for sharing, truly. Oh, yeah, so kind of winding up the presentation part of this. There are some action items that you guys can help take part in. You might have a partnership idea, much like Mayor West said, like you might know of a company or a connection or someone that just loves sharing or really passionate about what they do. I mean, a lot of people love their work, and so if you have a partnership idea, Ms. Keon said you can reach out to her, but if you don't want to rest it with 3rd grade, that's fine with me. You can talk to Ms. Beck, Ms. Holliday, myself, Ms. Solomon, anybody in the executive team. You can just stop by the front office or call and say, hey, I've got an idea for a connection. You can come support us in a lot of different ways. Sporting events seems to be the easiest. You know, you just might show a little school allegiance, you're there, but I think what you're going to walk away with is a lot of excitement for kids to represent Tybee Island. They get very, very invested in our teams. We were the softball champs for 2 years in a row. We were the runner-up baseball. Our kids are really competitive, and it's pretty incredible when you think we've only had an athletics program for 3 years. So it's really amazing to see what they've done. You can follow us on social media, especially if you want to know more about events like this. It's probably the easiest way because we push that out whenever we can. And so you can follow us on Facebook, on Insta. I think that's kind of the ultimate two that we're using for the majority of what we're out there posting. But you'll see things like this, but you'll also see opportunities for signups, for participation. So please do that. If you are in the IGA or you're in line at the post office and anything about what you've seen here today is exciting to you, please share that. Tell your story of your experience with what's happening here at school. We're very proud of this organization, but obviously we always have opportunities to get better. And sort of that last thing, join a civic engagement group. So I had a chance last night to go to an event for Forever Tybee. And it's really amazing to me to see so many different types of people that are very interested in civic engagement and really want to work with the municipality on being informed. If you are interested in continuing to have a voice and make an impact on Tybee, I would recommend, they're doing a membership drive right now. You can reach out to Forever Tybee and be part of that organization and be part of a voice that is really connected to the community. I had a chance to hear from someone there last night, and she said, I know you're not here for work. And I was like, well, kind of. She said, but I want to tell you a couple of things. And she gave me some really good feedback about things that we need to be aware of. Our kids are like walking through the grass in someone's like property. I didn't know that. She was very nice about it, but it is something I was really glad that she shared. So now we can help, fingers crossed, curtail that behavior. The other thing though was really nice because they said, hey, I notice sometimes there's a couple of students and they're by themselves. And I was like, yes, our middle school kids, with parent permission, have latitude to sort of be out and be a little bit more independent. I said, were they behaving appropriately? And she was like, yeah, they were doing teenager things, but it wasn't anything inappropriate. I was like, yay, that's great. Thank you for letting me know that. But yes, so that was a really great dialogue to have because I know that our educational model is a little different, and people aren't always thinking like, what are all these kids, like, does the school know they're out? We do. They'll have a radio, we Apple tag them, so we can find them, but also they can communicate with us directly. But when you see the types of things that they get to do, one of the amazing things about being a student here is we also give you some autonomy and some freedom and some choice. The impact that can have on learning and on that engagement and that buy-in and putting value and worth to what you're doing at school is almost incalculable. We have a 99% retention rate for our students as well. So year over year, we have to have a lottery. As a charter school in Georgia, you have to have a lottery, but we're a public school. But you know, with the exception of one student whose parent got married to someone who lives in Texas, he's leaving. Everybody else is staying. But that, I mean, that's how granular we can get. We know our kids, we know our families. And part of that is that passion they have for being on Tybee Island, which is incredible for us. I have our Director of Engagement who's going to come up and kind of share. Next slide. Thank you. Got a handoff. This is Miss Noelle Ingram. She's going to kind of talk a little bit more about how to get involved with TEMA.
So welcome. I'm so glad to see you guys here today. I am the Director of Engagement, Noelle Ingram. So we have lots of ways that we'd love to have volunteers. We'd love to have, you know, our community on campus, parents on campus. We have our kind of a community connections behavior system that we use here called Love Your People. And that is, it's a way we reward our students for loving each other and loving their people, and it's a culture that we create here. It looks different between kindergarten and 5th grade, and then our middle school students. Our middle school students participate in a club once a month that the teachers choose. We have fishing club and yoga and mindfulness. We have the junior guards that we partner with. They also have a non-Tybee, a non-school club too in the summer and things like that. Trying to think of some other clubs. There's photography and Dungeons and Dragons.
Tybee Tourists.
Tybee Tourists, yeah.
That's right. You'll see them all over the island. They try to do something different and visit a different
It's just about
Tybee
ice cream.
business and things like that. It really is. It's about
ice
going
cream once a month. Yeah.
walking around the island. So, and there's different like rewards, you know, for the kids that have to do with Love Your People and creating a culture of that in our school. And then we have room parents and classroom support, and you know that's really like a parent engagement type of activity. Though, if someone has knowledge and you know is a retired teacher, we also are very happy to have people come in and run small groups and support teachers in that way. Athletics boosters, like Mr. Ulrich said, one of the easiest ways you can support TEMA is to come out to a sporting event. Our athletics are only for middle school students, 6 to 8, but you can always come watch a game and you know cheer on the Tide. We have a fishing tournament coming up. I believe the date is April 5th. So that's always a super fun day. We've had beautiful weather the past few years, and it's been great. So that's another way. Put me in coach is just a, hey, I don't necessarily want to run something, but I will show up and I will sign up and I will come show my support in some way. Or I'll, donate some cheese to the taco bar for teachers or something like that. And then we do have a family engagement planning team that kind of sets up these things. We meet, I don't know, 5 or 6 times per year. We review the events that we've done to engage our families, and then we start to write a plan for next year. We have lunch volunteers that come in. Once a week, we try to offer our teachers a duty-free lunch, and we have volunteers that come in and kind of serve as the, lunch duty support. It's very glamorous, but it's fun because we have a lot of parents who come, frequently, and they get to know the kids, and the kids get to know them too. So it's really a lot of fun. And the teachers really appreciate just that moment in the day where they can eat without kids asking them questions. We have a sustainability committee that was working on some recycling stuff and definitely gets involved. We do adopt an area once a month on Tybee too, and Ms. Holiday kind of gets that off the ground. And then subject matter expert, like Mr. Ulrich said, if you ever have any connections to projects we're doing or you have, an idea, that's where that comes in. So this QR code is we follow along with the school district on their volunteer screening system, and it does runs the background check and everything for our volunteers. So we ask that all the volunteers go through that to come on in beforehand to make sure they're safe to be with our students. So, and if you have any interest in any of these, you can let me know. I have one. Give me my card and you can send me an email.
I'll also say too that we've seen an uptick in lunch volunteers ever since we quit composting. So that's been great to see. So this is everybody's usual, their favorite time, which is we open up the floor for any questions that anybody has. You can certainly comment on what we've talked about, or if you have any other questions about our operations or strategic planning or what we're thinking, or can this please be over? You can also put that question out there too. So, any questions from the audience? Yes.
I don't represent the Post Theater, but I was telling Laura, I was talking with Evan yesterday, he's got 4 slots for Oscar-nominated movies to play, like Bob Dylan movie, that maybe your kids and teachers could come to. March 5th and 6th, I think he's doing that. He also would be willing to hear from you about if any of the movies you consider appropriate for your age kids. But I would think not just this time, I don't know if you have any kind of relationship with the Post, but I think that would be a great learning. I mean, maybe you guys recommend movies. There are historical movies. There are movies that your kids could learn from.
Yeah, absolutely. I would say, thank you for saying that. We do have a good partnership with the Post. They've been very generous with their space when we've been working through presentations. Some of our first graders a couple of years ago, they wrote their own musical about ecology and just being mindful of waste. And so we actually put on that production at the Post, which was really great. We've had 5th graders that have also used that space. They're a wonderful partner for us. Also, we love the movie industry, so we're actually always looking for tie-ins for that. What, you were going to say something?
First grade has a field trip coming up actually to the Post, and it's a great example of an advocacy partnership because they have a whole curriculum and activities set up for them to learn about lighting, sound, stage design, set design, all of that. So it's going to be it's a really great opportunity, and that's all in preparation for kindergarten's PBL, where they put on a have a performance they're working on.
Great.
Thank you for that, though. Yeah, we do that. We actually have a film studies program for all of our students. It looks very different in K through 5, but in 6, 7, 8, students are creating content. They're learning more about lighting, angles, sound, all of the things to make, good content. And our students actually participate and do pretty well in the local media festival. So, yes, but thank you for saying that. Other thoughts or questions? also for the trust that our families give us by giving us their children every day, which is a pretty big ask, that they do that. And I'm also sincerely grateful for being a part of this community. You could not imagine, when I first came out to work here, it was suit and tie every day. I was making everybody nervous that I was going to change the dress code. And it's been really amazing seeing these partnerships continue to grow and evolve. We have a very active board, and we have a lot of people that are heavily invested in continuing to remain a part of this community. You have probably heard, because it was said at a local board meeting in December, that there is an existential threat to us being in this space. I want to remind everybody that the diocese is very supportive of us, and have been a good partner for us leasing this facility. But as a property owner on the island, they have ideas about what they want to do with their property. If you own property on this island, you probably think that that's a really valuable thing to be able to do. So that's necessitated some conversations about what do we do facility-wise. I'm very happy to say that we're continuing that work, and what I have found so far is that on Tybee, as long as you don't hear no, it's probably possibly still moving forward. So we haven't gotten to a place where anybody's told us no. We have a lot of active conversations and a lot of really great support and partnerships through the municipality, through all of our work in trying to remain vital to what this community needs, and I'm just really grateful for that. And we're going to have other community plug-ins. This is not our only, this was just our first. I'm very grateful for the turnout. And then parent plug-ins also will resume in earnest next month. But folks, thank you so much. If you have any other questions, comments, thoughts, please come find us at the end of this, but we're going to wrap this up for today. And you can let anybody know that this is on YouTube later today. Yes.